showed up here at my new job site. Look at this beautiful pond. What a lovely sound and locale to be working in. Right up here, we just had this foundation poured, monolithic slab right next to this well cistern, which is very interesting. This concrete work turned out really good. We got a nice sloped patio out here. It's kind of a parallelogram shape because our property line here isn't quite square. So the building foundation's square. It's gonna have LVP flooring once this is all done. So it's nice and smooth. I've got a little 6-inch stem wall here built up. I'm just gonna get plates on today, and we'll be starting to build these walls tomorrow. This thing is a 13 by 13 foot square. So I believe it's 169 square feet, and it's gonna be quite tall. Shed roof, some complex window and French door stuff being framed in, and let's get started. All right, I went through here and just using my hammer, cleaned up all these edges. They're pretty green, so, you know, it's a little rough. I think they had probably a really tight mix. So snap some lines around the perimeter here. This stem wall is 4.5 inches thick. So what I'm gonna do is run my plywood, my sheathing down flush to the concrete. And so that gives me enough to do this 3.5 chunk here for my sill plate, and then 1.5 inches. That was my plan. So I got my 2x4 plate set with the sill gasket, and this is an oofer, which is gonna be the ground for the electrical in this little building. And what I'm doing now, I set that in 1/2 inch from the outside so that I can place this on the inside. And the measurement works so that we got a 5.5 here, and I'm gonna fur this out to the height we need so we have a nice continuous flat sill to set our walls on. And all this stuff is set off of the concrete, and it's going to give you a nailer for the drywall on the inside and for your base trim and stuff like that. So we're kind of working around this little mini stem wall. The concrete guy left me with nuts but no washers, so tomorrow I'll have to refasten those down. I don't have any washers with me. Kind of a typical little situation there. Went out and got my washers. I mean, look at the difference this makes. You need that washer so you can suck this stuff down. Now that's set. Okay, so we're done with day one. I was just planning to get my tools out here and stuff and get a little bit of material. It's a little bit hokey what we ended up doing. The communication wasn't too great with the concrete guy. The good thing is we've got everything planed out. It would have worked out a lot better if I had 2x6 PT, but I do like the facing detail. So here is all the lumber we're gonna use. This is salvaged from a deck. It's mostly 12 footers. It was on the deck for a good 15 years, but it's super dense, still plenty good. And this was actually sort of a pre-stained spruce. So it's not cedar, you know, cedar's pretty weak. But this spruce is plenty solid enough to still use it, so. All right, day one, just brought up my first load from the shop down there. Got about 30 pieces. They're mostly 12 footers, so I'm gonna be making a lot of cuts today. I also got some new 2x6 plates because this building went from 12 feet to the outside to 13, which is kind of annoying, and these are all 12, so had to get some plates, and we'll have to get some rafters as well. So I've just got the outer framework of this back wall. I don't want to paint myself into a corner, so I'm building this back wall. It's got 4 windows in it, so I'm just gonna have to piece this thing together. We've got the angle, the slope on the top, and so it's just gonna make more sense with all these cuts to build it in place. All right, nice little start on this back wall. There are 4 slender windows up high. I'm gonna be packing these headers up top, and these I built out of our material. So they're about 8 by 6, and they're just boxes. Super strong method. You know, if you ever wanna make a cheap header, this is definitely, you know, similar. Probably you're getting about a 4 by 6 strength-wise out of this. All right, wall number 1 is complete. Came together very slowly. You know, I'm having to pick through these. I'm having to break screws off. Not gonna complain about it too much, but it's definitely slow. That's a wall I could have done in an hour and, you know, 2 or 3 hours later. So I'm plating these sides. These are basically the gable ends. So those are gonna get pieced together. I'm gonna move up to this front wall. So we're tackling the 2 more complicated walls first, and then we're gonna connect them together. Laying a good bead of Vulcan before I set these plates, just to seal that up. All right, this is gonna be sketchy. We'll see if it works. Oh yeah. Oh, immediately. Okay. Working. Yeah, we got it. Boom. Boom. So what I had to do up here, I made a tiny mistake. Forgot that we had the drop down here with the concrete. So all of my math was correct in theory, but I cut these initial studs at that theoretical length, and it was 4.5 inches shorter, because that's the height of the little stem wall. So we had to do some addition up there. I've got this first wall done. Okay, so we are all done stick framing this thing. We finished out those headers above that window pack, and I'm gonna start putting some sheathing on the outside. Use a nice true plywood to shear this thing, and then I'm gonna start to get into building the roof. Okay, so the contractor who poured the slab very smartly put his joint right here, just in case this outer slab ever breaks away. You want that crack to be there, and it's gonna be covered up by the wall and the door. Also, it's a positive water stop, so water can't back up into the house under there. So I just put this piece of flashing and I wedged it all the way down to the bottom, and that's going to keep water from wicking up. Even though we've got the foam, we've got everything under there. But I'm gonna sheet this now. All right, day 2's done. Didn't quite finish shearing all the walls. There's a couple chips here and there, but I got this face done, which looks really good. Gives you an idea of what we're shooting for here. This is my whole roof system. We'll be putting that up tomorrow once I get done. And yeah, going pretty good. 2 days. Of course there are fish. How could there not be fish in here? All right, finished up getting all my plywood on the walls. So everything's sheared now this morning. Now marking my layout. I'm centering the rafter design because you're gonna see it out in the front here. So we're gonna have a nice even spacing. And let's start building this roof. All right, I've got my 2 outermost rafters set, and I went around and cut my notches up there for the outlookers. I also set the back subfascia, because these are pretty heavy, pretty long, so that I can bump them down, and that's tacked to this here, so that back subfascia is perfectly straight. It's not gonna move when I bump them down. And basically, here's what we have at the butt end of the rafters. They run 16 feet. And then the front overhang, I'm ripping down to a 2x6. And I'm just scribing those onto here, just like that. And I got to cut about 9 more. I might as well show one of these going up. I hate filming the whole thing like this. Is, you know, a couple hours. Up top on this beast, just got my outlookers in. Or basically our perimeter is going to be 16 by 16. So I've done all the math for that to work out. 8 sheets. We've got to put in blocking on this bottom and top, and then I'm ready to sheet. Good end to the day. Got this whole thing laid. Did not stagger my sheets. I don't want to hear about it. It's just me out here, guys. Yeah, got all my lines snapped out. Everything's nailed off and ready. This is getting a steel roof, so we'll get some underlayment on here tomorrow. Here's our studio, 4 days. We're all rough framed. Got to lay some house wrap on the outside and some underlayment up on the roof on Monday, and then we're going to start doing some trim and siding and roofing. All right, good morning. It's Labor Day, and I'm laboring. That's what it's all about. About to get some underlayment on here. Got it blowed off. Let's do it. All right, we're all underlaid. What a day for it too. As you can tell, it's raining. It's supposed to stop in a little bit, but it's kind of like a, a little morning mist thing going on. So we're kind of dried in. All right, it is still raining out here, surprisingly, and I just finished getting the whole house wrapped. Really nice tight job, and I got the window flashing tape set up. That's just the under layer, and then once we get the windows in here, we'll do another layer, and maybe I'll show a little bit of that process. Okay, a little detail about how we're venting this thing. You can see I put in this vent strip. I've yet to fill it out, but the way I framed this, I bumped out 2. So we got 2 inches of airflow in there, and then at the top on the inside of our blocking, we have a gap at the top. So we're able to seal that right here. And I'm just putting it up with some crown staples. You go right through there, and we're gonna have some trim bumped up to that. So that's how it's gonna be. So here's how I like to vent my studios. 2 1 1/4 holes. I am generally framing with 2x8s for the rafters, and then I use the same channel vent strip. Kind of ran out, so I'll have to get some more. And that's how I do it, top and bottom. So if you're interested in what's happening here, we've got our gasket tape, and that wraps all the way up into the sill, and that keeps the sill from getting wet. That gasket tape runs just the same way all the way up, and then that tape is over our house wrap. And then up here from the corner of the opening in the window, I continue my 45. So the outside is over, and then this top can flip over, and then that gets taped. Well, all of this gets taped back over, and that tape runs down past this, and then nothing happens on the bottom. As well, before I set these, I'm running a bead of Lexel down, nothing on the bottom, and I run that pretty tight to the opening. And that's really important, so that when you fasten your window on here, it is actually sealed to the house. Going to be making 6 different types of decorative boxes. Just kind of showing this. Much easier to handle and work if you cut out of a bigger piece of wood, just for handling it. So this is a nice 2x6 clear cedar. And there's our blocks. We got 2 for the front lights, and then we're gonna have 2 exterior outlets. We've got an inlet for the mini split, and then the main power, which is this one right here, just has a pilot hole, so that whatever size conduit they run into the exterior of the house, they can get that thing nice and centered. So here's our first block. This is an exterior outlet. You can see that I've pre-sealed it underneath, even though we're going to be siding up to it and sealing it again, and I've sealed where the entrance to the box is, and then I'm gonna drop my flashing above that. So just laid in, this will be the disconnect switch for the mini split. Just wanted to show how these things work. So that's a 20 amp switch because we're running 12 gauge through here, but you know, this is the cover, so it's a shut off switch. You do have to make sure, you know, you're off, and then that cover comes over here, and once that's on there, it flips the switch, but it provides a weatherproof barrier. All right, we've got our windows in, some other stuff, just preparing to side. We're gonna set this French door tomorrow morning, and then I'll get to trimming this thing out, and we'll get to be putting the hardy lap siding on here. We're about to set this very custom French door. Well, it's custom painted at least, but it's a pretty expensive, nice door. The slab is very slightly out of level here, and we want to make sure this bottom is very solid. So I've got some composite trims here that are made out of plastic. Those are Lexelled down, and I'm about to set this thing in here. Okay, pretty painstaking, but I got this thing correctly set. It's perfectly plumb and level, which means it should be square, because I'm going to wait to set the doors in here, and we'll just hope it's perfect from the manufacturer. But yeah, I've got a lot of shim and anchor points, and I did the full top, so this thing should be very solid. I'll seal with Lexell against the bottom there. I also laid this thing onto a big bed of Lexell, so it is properly waterproofed at the bottom. Okay, a whole lot done today. Didn't take many videos because I'm kind of repetitively doing trim. Finished this front side and got both the front corners done. I've run a 5/4 by 8 on this side, and I'm gonna match it on the back side so that my 12-foot pieces of hardy will span the whole thing, and we won't have any butts, no joints. And we got all of the final fascia on here as well, so that's nice. That opens up roofing, siding, and then being done. How about this for a commute? It's always nice being able to see a little bit of snow in September. We are right below Mount St. Helens. I'm about to unload all this hardy. I got 60 pieces, the 8 1/4 fiber cement board, and I just finished trimming out the whole thing, so I'm ready to start laying this stuff. Came up beautiful, got all our blocks, all of our Z flashings in. Let's do it. All right, so I got this side finished up pretty early in the day, and then this front side quite a bit more time consuming. I had to get these light blocks in. and I just completed it, and it is definitely a little slow, but I would recommend just caulk while you're going. It's so much easier than running your ladder around a whole second time. And caulk everything nice, because I am going to be spraying this thing probably on Monday. So let's finish our job. Good morning. I forgot that on Friday I didn't take any videos because it was 102 degrees and I was just trying to get all of this siding finished. So we did finish doing all the siding trim. Today it's nice and cool. It's going to be about 70 and cloudy, which is perfect to spray this house. We're going to get it all painted today. All right, so we got everything masked, and I just went around and put 2 coats of primer all up on the soffits and our wood blocks. So we're ready to paint now. That's all dried up. Let's get some coats on here. All right, first coat's on. What a beauty. I love this color. It's really not gonna pop until we get that masking off and those windows, the black. Even getting the lights in and some of the other details is gonna make a difference, but just letting this dry up a little bit. I'm gonna go around and get the second coat on. There it is. There was a lot of talk about this color. Went back and forth quite a bit. I think it's perfect. We didn't want it to be too cool. And it is kind of in that army green zone, but it could have been a lot bluer. It could have been lighter, both of which I think would have been mistakes. This is just perfect. And it's also not too yellow, like that mossiness is out of there. So it sits right in the landscape and kind of disappears. Nice. So there's a couple flashes in there that aren't quite dry, but this is very close to dry. And this is a low luster sheen, which is pretty much an eggshell in the exterior paint realm. I would say it's generally a mistake to do satin or anything glossier than this low luster. And it's also kind of a mistake to go flat. Flat is just a bit flatter than this, but you know, when things are new, they always feel a bit too shiny. But this will get dusted up, and yeah, I'm loving the details of this. The windows and the door look great, and we'll get those lights in eventually, and I'll be finishing out the interior of this in about a month and a half. So we're taking a break to do some other jobs. And here's the finish on the back side. All of our boxes turned out really nice. So, you know, we're gonna have several outlets. That's gonna be a mini split over there. That's what that shutoff is for. Got water back here, which is interesting, because this well cistern, you know, this is what's providing our power here. We've got 30 amps, which is really nice. I'm not doing that electrical work, but it is very convenient that some of this stuff is just already here. And that's where the power's going in. So that'll go get put in conduit and